Alrighty guys, in today's video, we're going to be going over how you can consistently make $30,000 to $50,000 per month wholesaling real estate with this model that I'm about to show you that we made a 431x ROI on. And I'm not kidding when I say that. This isn't some sort of clickbait. I wish I could say it was, but I don't think anybody else in the wholesaling industry is doing anything like this. But this is actually pretty insane. And when I say this is not clickbait, I'm so serious. And we're going to break down all of the numbers to show you how you can go out and possibly get a return like this or even better. Now, I'm not going to guarantee you that you can get a result like this, but this is just what we did. And you can 100% go out and mimic this and get a deal done for yourself. So let's jump right into it. So this is the deal that we closed right here. It was a $37,732 deal that we closed last week. And to break it down, how we got the 431x ROI, we take what we made divided by what we spent, and that gives us a 431x ROI. So we spent $87.50 to make $37,000, which is unreal. So that means for every dollar that we put into marketing, we got back $431. Unheard of. Okay. So let's break down how this works with the marketing KPIs. So we pulled a total of 163 leads. Okay. And our total cost was only $87.50, which brings our total cost per lead to 55 cents per lead. Now, this is crazy because if you even run Facebook ads, you're going to be generating leads somewhere between $50 to $100 per lead. Now, if you go to ispeedtolead.com, you're also going to be generating leads for, let's say, $200 to $500 per lead on their website. And then I know LeadZolo and things like that, they're going to be $250 per lead plus. We were able to get a lead for 55 cents, not even $1, which is just insane. Okay, so how we take that is we just take our cost, which was $87.50, divided by the total number of leads we received, which was 163, and it came out to 53 cents, but just rounded it up. It's a total of 55 cents per lead. Okay, now let's get into how we did this. So I went on Upwork and I specifically looked for someone who could help me pull county-specific data. Now, we wanted to pull pre-foreclosures and probate leads in two specific markets that were close by to me. Okay, and as you guys can see right here, I paid him $5 an hour, and the total amount spent was $87.50. We started this on June 16th, 2025. And you can see right there, there's my name. So you guys know this is real. Okay. So his job was to go through all of the county data in the two specific markets that I wanted to pull from and pull probate leads and pre-foreclosure leads. Now our goal was we were just going to door knock these leads since they were close by. But instead, he put all of these leads into a Google spreadsheet, and I wasn't going to insert this data into our CRM because, like I said, we were going to door knock them, but we ended up doing it anyways. We ended up just putting it in our CRM. As you guys can see right here, the fourth lead that he sent on the probate side, because he had two different tabs, he had a probate tab and a pre-foreclosure tab. The fourth lead that he sent was the one that we closed. Here's the address right here, 1063 Mitchell Drive. I'm going to show you guys some proof just so you guys know. All right. As you can see right here, closed. We closed for $175,000. Here's the same address right there. And here is the HUD statement, name and address of seller, which is my company, Doorstep Holdings. Same address right there. And the HUD statement says $37,732.28. So now that you guys know that this is real and this is not some clickbait situation, we can get into how we did this. Okay. So he sent the leads to a Google spreadsheet. Like I said, we were planning on door knocking them, but since they were honestly so spread out, we were like, let's just put it in the CRM and see what we can do. Now, our CRM is supposed to automatically follow up with anybody who enters into the system. However, this lead ended up slipping through the cracks. Okay. Now, since it slipped through the cracks, our lead to first contact date was 93 days. That means the lead entered into the system on June 17th, 2025, and our first contact didn't happen with the seller until September 18th. Now, the reason this is so crucial is because if we could have condensed that time from 93 days to, let's say, 2 or 3 days, we could have got this deal done a lot sooner. but since our CRM ended up not catching the lead and didn't send out any messages to begin with, it ended up costing us 93 days. But we're going to get into all the numbers on how you can make this predictable after seeing your first deal. Okay, so 93 days from when the lead hit our system to when we had the first contact with the seller. Now here's where it gets interesting. The first contact to contract signed was only 28 days. So our first contact with the seller happened September 18th, and then we got the contract signed not even a month later on October 16th. Okay. Now this is crucial because if that 93 days never happened, and let's say it only took 1 day to get in touch with the seller, then we possibly could have got this contract signed within 30 days of the lead ever entering our CRM, which is really cool to look at. But now we take this data and we move forward with it, right? All right, now here's the data from getting the contract signed to actually getting the money in our bank account. So we got the contract signed October 16th, 2025, and then we didn't get paid until December 5th, which is a total of 50 days. But now this gives us some really good data on the dispo side on how we can do better moving forward. So we put all of our properties on the MLS. That way we can get max exposure, and it's called a novation. So we do a novation on all of our deals, right? So on November 7th, we went under contract with a buyer who is using a DSCR loan. Now, the reason we put our properties on the MLS is so we can accept loan offers, right? So not only can we accept cash offers, but now we can accept people using a VA loan, a FHA loan, or even a conventional loan. It opens our buyer pool just so much more, okay? So our time from getting the contract signed with the homeowner to going under contract with a buyer was 21 days. Now, the reason we did that is because we actually had a lot of offers on this property, and we were trying to go for the best offer. Now, at the time, these people had the best terms. Everybody else was trying to use like an FHA loan. Someone even tried using a VA loan, but this property needed some work. So we knew we didn't want to put a lot of money into it ourselves. We also knew that it might not pass any sort of inspections that some of these lenders typically require when selling a property on the MLS. So we went with this buyer because we thought this was the best possible outcome. Okay. Now, they told us that they were going to close before Thanksgiving, but we ended up canceling the week before Thanksgiving with the buyer because even though they were using a DSCR loan, the lender still required for repairs to get done before the property was able to be sold to the buyers the week before Thanksgiving. So we just canceled with the buyers and said, we're not doing any repairs. This isn't what we agreed on to begin with, and it's probably not the best fit for both of us. Now, this is where a lot of people would freak out and probably cancel with the homeowners because the homeowners told us they needed to close before Thanksgiving. It was very important to them that they close before Thanksgiving. So instead of canceling with the homeowners, we said, okay, we'll just buy the property ourselves. So that's a big risk, right? Because we don't have a buyer lined up. A lot of lenders don't like that. If you don't have a buyer lined up and you're asking for money, that's a big risk, right? Because who knows if the property will sell. Well, luckily, our dispo is super strong. We were able to find a buyer with way better terms in 8 days. So from the time we canceled to the time we signed with a new buyer was a total of 8 days, which is really good. And this is where it turns into a big learning lesson because from the time we found the new buyer and closed the deal was a total of 6 days. So how can we learn moving forward that we probably should have waited just a couple extra days before going under contract with the first buyer and just waiting for a really good offer like this to come by that we couldn't pass up and go with them. So instead of it being 50 days, we could have condensed that into probably 2 weeks. And moving forward, we now know that. But the total dispo side from contract signed to closing took a total of 50 days. Now let's look at the full life cycle of this lead. So from the moment the lead entered our CRM to the moment the money hit our account was 171 days. Now, if you look at $37,000 over 171 days, that's a total of technically $220 per day that we owned from the time the lead hit our account. Now, that's pretty cool to look at because we didn't even talk to that lead for 93 days. And if you look at it from contract signed, you take your total amount made over 50 days, because it took us 50 days from getting the contract signed to closing, technically we earned $754 per day since we got the contract signed. Now, this is really cool data to look at. I love looking at data like this because it allows us to see from an outside perspective, like what our numbers in the business are. Now, the entirety of this deal is what allowed us to make a 431x ROI on this transaction. But knowing your numbers is now knowing that, okay, we did it once. Now we can repeat the process. And how do we shorten the time period? So on a deal that took us 171 days from the moment it hit the CRM to close, how can we condense that to 45 days or even 30 days? And how do we learn from this moving forward? Because we know the data works, the leads work, the data works, the marketing aspect of it works. How do we condense the time frame from the lead hitting the CRM to getting the contract signed to getting it closed with a buyer? That's our biggest focus. And what this tells us is we just need to be better at follow-up. We need to be better at consistently following up with our leads and not letting them sit. Because who knows, if we would have let this sit for another 2 or 3 days, they could have already found another buyer and we wouldn't have closed this deal. Now, that's why it's important to track your numbers so you can know moving forward how to consistently get deals like this. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you got any sort of value from it whatsoever, I put the link in the description to join my Skool community where I show you how you can do deals just like this and get your first deal in under 60 days. Now, maybe you need a little bit more help or more hands-on training. I also put a link in the description to book a free one-on-one call with me where I can strategize with you on how you can scale your business to consistently hit $30,000 to $50,000 per month. So with that being said, don't forget to like and comment on this video, and also don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.